Have you ever wanted to play a disgustingly strong Magicka Templar that can dominate people? Then this is the right build for you. Stay tuned. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back. This time I have a glass cannon Magicka Templar for you. This one is a lot of fun to play. It's really strong, a lot of damage, very squishy, low sustain. That's exactly up my alley. That's exactly how I like to play my builds. Yeah, I had a lot of fun in BG's open world. A lot of AoE damage. My god, does this thing hit hard. Let's get into it. I'll tell you everything about it. So, if we look at the stats, 35k Magicka, not bad, not bad. 23, almost 24k health, also not bad. And 14k stamina, you can't be mad about that. Of course, Magicka regen, pretty low here at almost 1200. Like I said, glass cannon build, it doesn't have much sustain. It works quite well for how little sustain it has. Of course, it is a Templar. Templars have some really good sustain mechanics, and we have a resto staff, so that really helps with maintaining the Magicka pool quite well. So yeah, can't be mad about that. The spell damage, 3.3k at the moment, fully buffed. This goes up to roughly 5k, so a decent amount of spell damage here. A lot of damage coming out of this. The spell resistance, of course. I mean, we can just buff up here real quick, and we can see 21-7 on the spell and 17 on the physical. It's not too shabby for a light armor build, you know. So you can't expect much more on a glass cannon build. And then 2500 critical resistance, as always. I think that's enough. You know, like I said, this is a glass cannon build. It's not even meant to stay alive, but it can be quite survivable. The spell penetration, almost 15k. That's a lot. That's a lot of penetration, and part of the reason why we hit so hard. So yeah, just stacking the damage. We're a stage 4 vampire. You don't have to be, as always, but you know, I don't think it's bad being a vampire this patch. Next patch, which is going to hit in a couple days, different story. You probably don't want to be stage 4. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see about that. But for now, stage 4 is okay. You have to decide for yourself if you want it or not. You know, like next patch, you could potentially get a lot more damage out of being a vampire. But you know, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We might do an update video on this one next patch. Of course, we have the Shadow Mundus because crit damage, duh. The crit damage is the biggest damage multiplier that you can get. Of course, it only works on critical damage. But, like, we have, like, almost 50k spell crit, 50% spell crit, which is a decent amount. So, we quit quite frequently. So putting the Shadow Mundus on is actually giving us a lot of extra damage. And then for the drink buff, we're using the Witch Mother's Potent Brew, of course. Great drink all around. It gives you the magical recovery, it gives you the max Magicka and the max health, everything we need. So yeah, that's it. Let's look at the sets here for a second. So we are running New Moon Acolyte. Oh wow, a meta set? Yes, we're running a meta set because, you know, since we're going for raw damage, this is probably the best option that you have. You get the spell damage, you get the penetration, and you get the extra spell damage on the 5-piece on top. So that's a lot of damage that this set provides. Of course, you get the 5% extra cost, but you know, 5% is not that much. Since we're in light armor, we have cheaper skills anyway. Like I said, Templar has good sustain mechanics, and we have a resto staff, so this shouldn't be an issue sustaining with a set like a New Moon Acolyte. The second set we're running is Spinners. This, of course, awesome set for just raw damage. The double max Magicka is really nice. Extra spell damage on top. Can't go wrong with that. And then, of course, the 3.3k spell penetration. So much damage coming out of this set. It's amazing. So, this is like, this combination, New Moon Spinners, works basically on any Magicka build that wants to go for damage. So, if you're looking for a hard-hitting build, this is basically the combination to go with. Works on a stamina build too. Of course, you want to use Spriggans instead, but New Moon Spriggans, pretty meta too for stamina builds. So yeah, this is basically the combination for damage right now. And then, of course, we're running Slimecraw. Slimecraw, just, you know, one of my favorite sets, probably my favorite monster set of all time. The Minor Berserk at all times, you can't go wrong with that. Yeah, 8% extra damage at all times. You don't have to proc it. You don't have to do anything. It's amazing. I love it. So yeah, this is the set combination. We are, of course, running infused with Tri-Stat enchants on the big pieces, and the impan with the Magicka enchants on the small pieces. On the jewelry, of course, arcane with spell damage. The Resto Staff is infused with a weapon damage enchant, and the Greatsword is Nirnhoned with a shock damage enchant. Why do we use a Greatsword? I get this question all the time on stream. People ask, why don't you use a staff? You can use a staff if you want. You can play this with the staff. It's no problem. It is no problem. Whatever you want to do, you can use a flame staff for more single target damage. You can use a lightning staff for more AoE damage. Probably lightning staff the better option here because we have a lot of AoE. If you are more comfortable running a staff, feel free to do so. I personally like the Greatsword because it gives the most amount of damage. With the Nirnhoned and the shock damage enchant, it can proc the minor vulnerability. It's just so much raw damage. And I just like swords. I can't help myself. Come on, guys. Look at it. Just look at it. I mean, it just looks good, okay? Okay? It looks good. So yeah, that's why the Greatsword. Like I said, feel free to use a staff if you are more comfortable with that. It's still gonna work. You're gonna lose out on just a little bit of damage, not much. You won't really see a difference. So yeah, if you want to switch it up, switch it up. Let's move on to the skills. We got the Solar Barrage. This is one of my favorite skills. The damage is not very high. As you can see, 2.2k, almost 2.3k magic damage. I would say, why do you put a build like a skill on a build like that? That doesn't even do damage. It does do damage. It does a lot of damage, and it does a lot of pressure damage. People don't really realize how it works. It hits a lot of people. It has a big radius. It's pretty snappy to cast, actually. It feels pretty good just casting it. It really helps putting in the damage because, you know, the main damage, of course, comes from the jabs, but we have some supplementary damage that really helps pressure people. That's why the build is called Pressure, because it is so much stuff to deal with. You have so much damage ticking on you that a lot of people, they can't out-heal it and they just go down immediately. So yeah, this is really, really nice. You get Empower. I don't need the Empower, really. You know, if you play with a staff, you will benefit from the Empower more than I do with the Greatsword. But honestly, like, I don't really care about 40% extra damage on a light attack. That's not where the damage is coming from, really. So yeah, great skill all around. The next one, Reflective Light. This one is also really strong. It has a long range. It hits quite hard, so it does some upfront damage, and then it adds a dot, and it reduces movement speed. It gives you the Major Prophecy. Oh yeah, one more thing. The Solar Barrage here. What I like to do is, you know, when I go in, I cast the Solar Barrage first, because the Solar Barrage gives us, let me see, where is it? Yeah, the minor sorcery. So when you cast a Dawn's Wrath ability, you get the minor sorcery. That's why I usually put this on first, just to buff up with the minor sorcery, and then I go in and. But of course, if you put the reflective light on, you have that too. You know, you have that too. It's just when you don't have a target, like when you're like sitting behind a corner, a wall, and you want to go in with like a surprise attack. Maybe you want to attack somebody from stealth or so. Put this on first, and then go in and hit him. You know, just to buff up beforehand. Back to reflective light. So really nice upfront damage, nice damage over time. It reduces the movement speed by a lot, and it gives you the major prophecy, which we don't need because we already have the mage light. I talked about this on the last build. I like to use both because, you know, both give the same passive buff, but I'm not putting it on for the buff. It's really for the... So this skill is really for the damage, the pressure damage that it offers, and this one is for the major prophecy and the extra 5% max magicka, which is more. It's like 7% with the mage's guild passives. So it just buffs the extra max magicka. I don't know, like I've explained it multiple times before in build videos, but if you look at the difference in magicka when I'm swapping back to my back bar, look at this. 34-2, 35-6. So we get some extra damage just for having this skill on. So I like this. That's why I'm doing it. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, but honestly, I would say do it. Because I think it's worth it. So the next skill is Puncturing Sweeps. Of course, the bread and butter DPS skill of any Templar. This hits really hard. It hits really hard and it heals you. So this whole getting heals while you're doing damage thing is something that I like. It makes you very strong. Like any skill that allows you to do damage and get healing from it will make you really strong because you can put out pressure and stay alive at the same time. And I love that. If you hit multiple people with this, the heals are going to come in and people will have issues killing you while you're doing a lot of damage to them. So yeah, this also, of course, snares people, but we don't really need that because we already have that in here. So yeah, great skill, a lot of damage. I like it. And of course, it procs the Burning Light. That's like the big thing. Not only do you hit hard with the jabs, but your Burning Light is going to proc over and over again and add a ton of extra damage. So yeah, next skill, Toppling Charge. The Gap Closer, it knocks people down. You set them off balance. We don't really utilize the off balance on this build, so it doesn't really matter, but the CC is really nice. It's strong. It's really strong. And it hits fairly hard. You know, it's a fairly hard-hitting Gap Closer. The next one, of course, Inner Light. We talked about it. It's for the crit buff. It's for the max magicka. So yeah, I have it on all my magicka builds. Basically, I'm a firm believer in Inner Light. That's a yes from me, dog. And then, of course, the ultimate Crescent Sweep. Probably the cheapest and best ultimate in the game. Costs 72 ultimate, 75 when you have the New Moon Acolyte set on. I mean, it is so cheap, it's unbelievable, and it deals a fuck ton of damage. Look at this, 11k magic damage. That alone is a high tooltip, and this goes up even further. I think fully buffed we reach like 13k or something, but when you hit somebody in front of you, it's going to be 60% more. So this is basically, it's going to be like a 20k tooltip. I've hit people for like 13k in the CP campaign with this thing. It is amazing. It is amazing. So what you do is basically you cast Reflective Light on them, you gap close at the same time, and then you hit them with this, and this basically, if you have a target that's not meant to be tanky, you can one-shot people. People will just evaporate on impact. So, That's a lot of damage. And then, of course, it pulses every 2 seconds and adds some extra damage. And if we put this together, so we have this thing here. It pulses every 2 seconds. We have this thing here. It ticks every second. We have this thing here. It pulses every 2 seconds. And then you just stand there and jab like a crazy man. Yeah. That is a lot of pressure damage. That's why it's called pressure. So yeah, people will have issues recovering from that. It's a lot of damage, guys. Let's look at the back bar. Extended Ritual, of course, the Purge. Heals for a decent amount, actually. I'm always surprised how much it heals when you stand in it. It's maybe a little overtuned, because like I'm getting like fully buffed, like 3k heals out of this thing sometimes. Just for like a dot that's on the ground. Like a hot that's on the ground. It's pretty crazy. Then of course, you know, you purge 5 harmful effects, which is the main reason we use this. So if you have dots on you, if you have a sorcerer curse on you, or whatever it is, you can purge it off really nice. So great skill. The next one, Race Against Time. This adds a little bit of speed to the build, which the build kind of needs because we're pretty slow. We don't have any extra speed in here, so Race Against Time, extra speed, really nice. But the main reason is the Minor Force, which gives us 10% extra crit damage. And, you know, it stacks up nicely. Let me explain to you why we're doing this. So this is 10% extra crit damage. Then we have the Shadow Bonus is 13% extra crit damage. So we're sitting at 23%. Then the let me see where it is. Oh yeah, here. Piercing Spear. Increase your crit damage by 10%. So this is another 10%. So we're sitting at 33% extra crit damage. And in the CP, we have 20% extra. So we're over 50%. As you know, the base crit damage is 50%. If you don't add anything, your base critical damage is 50%. So your crit will hit 50% harder than your non-crit. With this thing, we're at 103%. And you could go further. You can go further. If you go all divines, you could have 19%, so you could be sitting at 109%. And guess what? Here's another thing that comes. We got Light's Champion. This thing gives you Major Force, which is 15% more crit damage. So overall, if you really want it, and you went all divines, you could reach 125% or like 124% extra crit damage. So that's when you start hitting disgustingly hard, because all your crits, you know, all your damage that you do when you crit is going to be 125% harder, more damage, and it's insane. It really is. You know, at this point, you're just a damage machine. You're just outputting damage that no one can handle. So yeah, that's the reason we stack the crit damage. It's really nice, and you know, this skill also helps you with just moving around because it removes the snares, the immobilizations, grants you some immunity to them for 2 seconds. So if you need to get away from somebody, this helps you. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. Honor the Dead. This is the burst heal. Hits really hard. It gives you some magicka back when you heal a target below 75% health. So yeah, it's pretty good. This is what keeps you alive. The next one is Degen. Degeneration, of course. It is a damage over time skill. It doesn't hit very hard, but it offers the spell damage bonus, which is something that we need on the Templar. So this is mainly for the spell damage bonus, but it also adds some extra damage, you know, because, you know, you add this on top of all the dots and ticks and pulses that we have, and it's just more damage, you know. You can't go wrong with that. And the next one is Channel Focus. This, of course, is our armor buff. It gives us the typical armor buff, and it gives us 50% more when we stand in the rune. So if you really need to be tanky, cast it, stand in the rune. get the extra tankiness. It's super cheap. You barely notice it when you cast it. You can cast it even when you're like almost out of resources, which is really nice. And it gives you the awesome sustain mechanic here. You recover 240 Magicka every 1 second, which is the equivalent of 480 regen that you just get for free. So that is amazing. Can't go wrong with that skill. And like I said, Light's Champion for the ultimate here. If you take a lot of damage and you just need to recover, and you might not be able to like out heal the damage with your main heal, throw this thing on. This is going to keep you alive. And like I said, you can use this offensively. You can use it offensively if you really need to. Like if you see a couple people fighting and you just want to go in and want to rip them, put this on first, because this is going to keep you alive, and it will add like the major force for 7 seconds. It's going to be 8 seconds at level 4. So yeah, go in, do your combo, get the 15% extra crit damage. You're going to hit disgustingly hard, and that's mainly what it's for. Yeah, that's the skills, guys. Let's move on to the CP. In the Retri, 51 Ironclad, 77 in Resistant, 43 in Hardy and Elemental Defender, and 56 in Quick Recovery. In the Green Tree, 37 in Warlord, 19 in Sprinter, 22 in Mooncav, 56 in Arcanist, and 43 in Tenacity, 56 in Tumbling, and 37 in Shadow Ward. In the Blue Tree, 56 in Elfborn, 77 in Spell Erosion, 56 in Elemental Expert, and then the rest 81 Master at Arms. This makes you hit hard. Of course, if you want to leverage the dots a little more, you can go in Thaumaturge. I personally wouldn't do it. It's not worth it in my opinion, because the jabs are direct damage. So you can buff the jabs by putting it in direct damage. The rest is probably gonna be buffed by the Thaumaturge, but like I said, you don't want to do it. Because here's the thing, more damage with jabs means more healing. You know, the more damage you can do with the jabs, the more healing you can get out of it, and the stronger it makes you. So I think that is the way to go, and that's the CP, ladies and gentlemen, and that concludes the build. I hope you like it. Please keep in mind, this is a glass cannon build. It has low sustain, it is pretty squishy. It is a build for people who like to do damage, who like to dominate. And you need to be fine with losing a fight or two, because, you know, this is not meant to stay alive. This is for people who just want to have some fun, okay? So this is a fun build. Go in, do your thing. I'm gonna upload a couple clips of this build in BG's fighting. There's a couple funny ones. A couple of me really like walking through people, just dominating. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to upload that after the video. And other than that, yeah, like, subscribe, comment on the videos, and I'll be back with probably a build for the new patch, because the new patch is right around the corner. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon. Take it easy, everybody. See ya.